Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got some big-time updates on these contracts that the Vikings just signed, some premium free agents to Aaron Jones, Jonathan Allen, Byron Murphy Jr. All these contract details came out overnight, so we'll share with you guys the information there. And then also that guy right there, Cooper Kupp, could be heading to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk about it and then also discuss some of the other top free agents left here for Minnesota. But before we do so, I want to say thank you guys so much. We actually just crossed over 53,000 subscribers 2 days ago. So seriously, I appreciate it. You guys is showing support to this channel. Really does go a long way here in just growing the Chat Sports brand. So shout out to all of you guys. But hey, we're closing in on our next milestone. We just need 206 more subscribers to hit 53,500 subs. So if you guys could go down there, hit that subscribe button. If we get breaking news around the Minnesota Vikings, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP or possibly going live. So hit that subscribe button today. All right, let's start off with the Aaron Jones contract first. So the Vikings set it up like this, where his cap hit in 2025 is just $4.8 million. And also keep in mind, Jones's contract only has $13 million in guaranteed money, so there is an out after the 2026 season. But a $4.8 million cap hit in 2025, a $12.8 million cap hit in 26, and then $5.6 in 2027. Now, I see a lot of people saying, oh, the Vikings overpaid Aaron Jones, and yeah, he got definitely a little more money than I would have anticipated, but I do think it was well worth it because you have a guy who is an elite running back still in the NFL, had a monster season last year, and keep in mind these numbers you see are running behind a pretty poor offensive line. Like this was with Cam Robinson, Blake Brandel, Garrett Bradbury, Dalton Reisner, Ed Ingram, and then Brian O'Neill, and Jones was still able to go over 1,100 yards on the season, 4.5 yards per carry, and obviously we know he's an absolute weapon in the passing game as well with 51 receptions and 408 yards on the year, but he knows the system, he knows the culture, and he wanted to be back in Minnesota, and the Vikings wanted him back, but I already got my eyes starting this kind of cheat to the NFL draft here, and I think if I had to give my dream draft target for the Vikings at pick number 24, now obviously there are reports that they could be open to trading back in this year's draft, but if they're sticking there at pick number 24 and this guy from North Carolina, running back Amarian Hampton, is there, I say you do it. This could be like the Vikings taking their Jahmyr Gibbs pick, where the Lions a couple of years ago, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, pick number 12. He was the second best running back in that class behind Bijan Robinson. Very similar to the Amarian Hampton situation where Ashton Genty getting all the love, getting all the praise, but Amarian Hampton is a damn good running back. And also, if you would draft Amarian Hampton, I think it would just create a better version of Aaron Jones, because I don't think Jones is the guy at this stage, 30 years old, where he can go get 250 plus carries in a season. But maybe Aaron Jones is the Vikings' David Montgomery, and you have, kind of the Sonic and Knuckles there in Detroit of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think the Vikings are trying to replicate that with Aaron Jones and Amarian Hampton, and we know the Vikings are going to try to do a better job of running the football this upcoming season. After the past 3 years under Kevin O'Connell, it has not been a good running team. Last year they were good in certain spots, but still overall, once the postseason came around, they weren't able to run the football. So how do you help that out? Well, they just picked up 2 great interior offensive linemen from the Colts. How about you go get another running back next to Aaron Jones? And I think we could see number 33 having a more effective season. But also, Jonathan Allen, his contract details leaked last night. And, we got the initial report. It was a 3-year, $60 million deal. It turns out it's actually only a 3-year, $50.5 million deal. Now, listen, I got to do a better job of overreacting to these, figures when they come out, because you see the 3 for 60. You're like, oh, the Vikings giving Jonathan Allen $20 million a year. That's not the contract. So his cap hit is $6.4 million in 2025, 26, 21.6. And then the Vikings do have an easy out after the 26 year, where they would actually only take on $3 million of dead cap, and they would have $17 million in cap savings. So if it does go wrong with Jonathan Allen, there is an easy out after year 2 of this deal. But the total deal just turns out to be 3 years, $50.5 million. And I'll tell you what, the position group I'm most excited to watch next year for the Vikings, it is not the offensive line. It is the defensive line, because this unit is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you got Jonathan Grenard, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Dallas Turner. Like, imagine this being your third down package where Flores, Vikings were great against the run last season. I'm anticipating that will even be better this year with those 2 guys in the interior. But if this is your third down package, I mean, imagine if all 5 of these guys are rushing the quarterback. Good freaking luck for opposing teams' offensive lines. Jonathan Grenard, one of the most underrated blue chip edge rushers in the National Football League. Then you got Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, 2 pass rush specialists from the interior. Then you got Andrew Van Ginkel. You don't know what he's doing on any given play. And same with Dallas Turner. His versatility will be a weapon for this defense this upcoming season. But I do want to give some love to just the interior guys here, because on just, first and second downs, this will probably be the interior of the defensive line for the Vikes. You just got Harrison Phillips lining up as the nose tackle. I'm assuming Hargrave will be the 3 tech, and then Jonathan Allen will kind of be that 3-5 tech. So the Vikings are still probably going to run a 3-4 next season, and then you would obviously, mix in Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard as your outside linebackers. But, when Kwesi was making this move of Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, I remember when he was talking at the NFL Scouting Combine, and he was pretty much doubling and tripling down on the idea of getting home with 4. And he referred back to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, what they were able to do, the Kansas City Chiefs, get home with 4, get easy pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And the Vikings can now do that, because if you are bringing home Jonathan Grenard, Hargrave, Allen, Dallas Turner, and let's just say, Van Ginkel is dropping in coverage, and you got 7 guys on the back end, but those 4, they'll be able to get home to the quarterback, and other offenses are probably going to have to protect at least 6, 7 guys on any given play, because if it's just a 5-on-4 matchup, I would trust the Vikings 4 to be able to get home, because if you leave those guys one-on-one, they will win those one-on-one matchups. So couldn't be more thrilled of what Kwesi did at the interior of the defensive line yesterday. Literally every single box is almost checked on this Vikings roster. Just a truly special, past 48 hours for this ball club. But also Byron Murphy, it's not a 3-year, $66 million deal. It's more of in that 3 years, $54 million range. Actually very similar to the deal the Giants gave Paulson Adebo. So it makes me feel a lot better about this Murphy contract. But cap hit in 2025, $5.6 million. 2026, 19.5, and 27, 21.6. And the Vikings did tack on a void year of $7.2 million in 2028. So this is where the Vikings secondary stands right now. I still think this is probably the weakest position group on the team as a whole. But you never know. Like, what if Mekhi Blackmon has a breakout season? Maybe we're looking at this position group, a whole lot more differently, or even a guy like Theo Jackson. Now, you still have a question mark on Harrison Smith, but we'll get that decision by March 14th on if he will return and play one more season with the Minnesota Vikings. But honestly, if this is the 3 cornerback group you're rolling with, I'm cool with it. Byron Murphy, Mekhi Blackmon, and Isaiah Rodgers, and obviously you got Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson holding down the safety position. So I still think the Vikings need to add at least one more corner. However, what if just in that organization, they are a big believer in Mekhi Blackmon as being I'm not saying a true lockdown cornerback too, but what if they could get elite production out of him? And honestly, I think, I'm sure Kwesi was talking with Brian Flores being like, hey, what can you get out of this group? Like, if we go toss more big money at the offensive and defensive line, and maybe you won't have as much premier talent in the secondary, could you still get a lot out of that group? I'm sure Flores said, yeah, let me, bank on a guy like Mekhi Blackmon, Theo Jackson. I could get the most out of them. So where does this stand, the Vikings cap space situation? So it is very hard to find a number right now, but Ben Gessling does a very good job of just breaking this down. And he tweeted this out yesterday saying, I'm guessing a bit here because we haven't gotten the details on Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, and also Javon Hargrave. But he says his best guess, he thinks it's around $30 to $35 million. So, immediately I start thinking about guys like, Cooper Kupp, a backup quarterback, possibly another corner that the Vikings could sign. But I think it's going to be Cooper Kupp, and we'll talk about him here in a second. But first off, if you guys want the Vikings to sign Cooper Kupp, just give me a skull down below in the comment section. And if I had to call the Vikings' next move, I think it will be the former Super Bowl MVP. So if you guys want the Vikings to sign Cooper Kupp today, tomorrow, Friday, just go down there, hit me with a skull down below in the comment section. So coming up next, we'll dive into number 10 of the Los Angeles Rams and also go over some of the top free agent targets remaining, specifically some safeties and some other wide receiver threes that this Vikings front office could bring in. But before we do so, I want to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use promo code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And if you guys are ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. So you can feel right and feel great with no matter what life throws your way. So Factor, they arrive fresh, fully prepared, and they're perfect for any active or busy lifestyle. And here, covering free agency, it's a busy week here covering the Minnesota Vikings, and I don't always feel like making a home-cooked meal when I get off work, and that's where Factor Meals has came in, and it has completely changed my life. I love their teriyaki chicken, their sweet potato. It is just fantastic, and you guys, if you check it out, you guys won't regret it. So eat smart with Factor and get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Check them out. Link for that is in the comment section and description of today's show. So why I am so confident in the Vikings, and their ability to go land Cooper Kupp is because I think if you ask Cooper Kupp behind closed doors, where would you, prefer to go, play the rest of your NFL career? I think it would be the Minnesota Vikings because the Vikings can offer everything Cooper Kupp would want. You have a team who is going all in on this year, trying to win a Super Bowl. And you also have a team who has a kind of a need at that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 spot with that Jordan Addison suspension looming. Kupp, he could slide in there, be the wide receiver 2 while Addison is suspended, and then he, as a wide receiver 3, a great run blocker as well, a very physical guy in the run game. It is a perfect fit. Also, the cherry on top, he is already familiar with Kevin O'Connell. When KOC was the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, Cooper Kupp back in 2021 had over 1,900 yards in the regular season, won Super Bowl MVP that year, and it was truly the best wide receiver season I have ever seen in my life. But that year, 145 receptions, had 16 touchdowns as well. Now, yes, over the last couple of years, he's been battling injury, but, still last year when everybody's calling this man cooked, he still had 67 receptions, 710 yards, and 6 touchdowns in just 12 games played. And Vikings fans, could you imagine this being the trio of wide receivers we're rolling out there next season? I mean, good luck to opposing team secondaries trying to stop number 18, number 3, and number 10. They're all extremely versatile. They can all play inside and outside. It is just phenomenal if this would be the wide receiver core that the Vikings are rolling out there. And plus, if you would add on top the Vikings potentially drafting a running back, I mean, this offense would not have a single hole in it. The only hole you would say would be that left guard spot, but I still think Blake Brandel, you'll see his play increase next to Ryan Kelly and Christian Darrisaw. I mean, we saw it last year. His play fell off a cliff once Darrisaw went down. But I would say this, if the Vikings sign Cooper Kupp and draft a high-end running back, build a statue for this man. Give him his extension. I understand the drafts have not gone well over the past couple of years, but this guy's been awesome in the back-to-back free agency periods. And now the Vikings, in my opinion, have one of the most loaded rosters in the NFL. But I will say, you guys go check out DraftKings, FanDuel, one of these sports books. The Vikings still have the worst odds in win the NFC North. It is incredible how disrespected this team gets every single offseason because these big-time media publications, they just don't like to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. It's all about the Bears. It's all about the brand of the Packers, and for some reason the Lions are a very talked-about team. But let's dive into some other free agents here. So Keenan Allen would be an interesting option to me. I think he still has a lot left in the tank. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 more good seasons, but we just saw a guy like DeAndre Hopkins yesterday get 1 year, $6 million from the Ravens. So maybe the veteran free agent market at the wide receiver spot, maybe that's a lot lower than we would have imagined. So a guy like Keenan Allen on a 1 year, $6-7 million deal, you could get his cap hit around $3-4 million. That would be an awesome pickup because considering the Addison suspension, I feel like a guy like Keenan stepping in there as a wide receiver too would be a big-time get. But also a guy like Tyler Lockett. Lockett's getting up there in age, no doubt about it, but he was just released from the Seattle Seahawks. So if you want a veteran guy in that room, Lockett is just that. Played in some big-time games in his NFL career, and he would fit in perfectly as that complimentary receiver next to Jefferson and Addison. But also a guy I'm a fan of from the Detroit Lions, a little Tim Patrick. Now, if I had to call where Tim Patrick's going to go, it would probably be the Chicago Bears. I think he's going to follow Ben Johnson there and be the wide receiver 3 for Chicago. But maybe if he has interest in Minnesota, him as a wide receiver 3, mixing in with Jalen Naylor, I would be a big fan of that idea. But kick it to the safety group here. Julian Blackmon was formerly with the Indianapolis Colts, had 86 tackles last year, 1 TFL, 3 interceptions, 4 PBUs. Maybe this is a guy where, extremely versatile player as well, where Flores could be saying, hey, I could get more out of him than what he was getting or what the Colts were getting out of him. And plus with the Vikings, if if Harrison Smith retires, watch out for a guy like Julian Blackmon or also a guy like Juan Thornhill. Listen, only played in 11 games last season for the Cleveland Browns, but again, a extremely versatile football player. He can play multiple positions, and, that's the key for being a safety for Brian Flores. Like, you pretty much have to be a makeshift linebacker, a makeshift safety. You got to be able to play nickel corner, outside corner, deep half safety, strong safety. You got to be able to play Mike linebacker. You got to be able to play about everything. And that's why a guy like Josh Metellus has such good seasons under Brian Flores, because he is truly one of the most versatile guys in the National Football League. And I think Juan Thornhill is just rotational safety. Sign me up for that. But my prediction for the Vikings and who they will sign next is Cooper Kupp or maybe a guy like Joe Flacco. But you guys let me know, who will the Vikings sign next? Drop that name down below in the comment section. I'm going Cooper Kupp, but if you guys got another name, let me know that down below. Now, if you guys want to hit me up on Twitter, that's a handle right there, at Pat Sieps. Give me a follow over there. I'll give you guys a follow right back. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.